Welcome to Hearties. We are delighted to bring you more chats with the cast and crew of When Calls the Heart, especially now that the SAG strike is over. I'm Lori Pearson from Mobile, Alabama, and I'm here today with a few of my friends.
I'm Jen Young from Seattle, Washington.
And I'm Dawn Bateman from North Carolina.
And I'm Kavan Smith from Vancouver, Canada.
Yes, it is our pleasure to welcome Kavan Smith, who plays Lee Coulter on our beloved show When Calls the Heart, who rode into Hope Valley in season 1 on that motorcycle. And now he's become the doting father of Goldie this season on When Calls the Heart. Welcome, Kavan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
We're great. We're really happy to have you with us now. So we were also sad to miss you at the Hearties family reunion this year when you were out sick. So we sent a lot of good thoughts to you. I hope you felt them.
Yes, I got better the day after.
Oh, no.
You know, nobody wants
to,
but I hear you. Nobody wants to talk about COVID, but I got COVID and I had it twice before. So it likes me a lot. But both times I had it before, it was maybe a half an hour of not feeling great. We all got laid out here. We were all pretty sick for the better part of a week, and I ended up having to miss, I think, about 4 or 5 days of work. And
oh, wow.
I was, in all these years, I mean, in the few years since this has been going on, never a problem on set. And then suddenly this year it got me, and I wasn't able to make it to the convention. And everybody said it was really good, though, that I missed a good one.
Yeah, we really missed you, though. There's an element of Kavan that, you know, it bumps the entertainment value. So we missed you for sure.
Thank you. And for that compliment, I'll come back.
Yeah, yay!
Yay! We got our fingers crossed for next year.
Ditto.
So you all wrapped filming for last season. We saw the video of you guys singing the season 11 rap song.
That's Jack's thing. I'm the worst singer in the world, and Jack never seems to understand that, and he tracks me down first every time, and we sing that silly song that he likes to sing.
Well, it was great. We loved it. It got so many likes on the Hearties Facebook.
I'm glad it gets likes, but if you listen to it, there's 3 other voices. They're all on key. I'm the one flat note in the background.
No,
that's me. Oh yeah, it's me. It's me.
Oh, well, it's a lot of fun, and it looks like you guys have a lot of fun.
We do.
So you're just a couple days into your hiatus now. Did shooting seem to go quickly, or was it a slow filming of season 11?
Well, we mentioned that just before we started recording. Yes, it was really quick this year, and they seem to be getting progressively quicker. And I don't know if that's because I'm getting older. And although I'm not, I mean, we're very lucky. We've been going for quite a while, so we have something to measure it against. But it does really feel like we all celebrate that we're shooting another episode, another season, and then it's over. And then it's like, oh, wow.
Wow.
So Pascale and I are getting together for lunch tomorrow, and we always do a sort of post wrap up lunch, and we talk about going to try and pitch for next season and stuff like that. And we usually do one of them right before we start shooting, and it feels like we just met for lunch last week.
Right.
So yeah, the answer to your question is they're going faster. They're definitely going faster. Also, that could be a measure of having more fun. I think, even though this is a very familial environment and everybody gets along, and I really do mean everybody. It's a weird thing. I almost feel like I'm jinxing it, but everybody gets along, and it is fun. So when you're having a lot of laughs and you're at work with a bunch of friends, the time just flies by. It does. There's never anything laborious, or there's no drudgery or anything. So it's a joy, and when you're happy, the time just flies.
Even Neil talked about it in his interview with us, and he's talked about it as a family, and we see it. I mean, we feel it when we're in HFR as well. Yep. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, even all of the crew talks about it, and the writers talk about it. So it seems like you guys do have a really good family going on up there.
I have a funny Neil story if you want to hear it.
Of course.
Okay, so I've known Neil for a very long time. I think the first film I did with him was in like 97 or something. And it was a space movie, and I was stuck in this spacesuit, and the little microphone was always on, always connected, and you couldn't shut me up. And I thought it was like a one-man stand-up comedy routine, and you couldn't shut me up. And everybody thought it was really fun, except for Neil, because it slowed things down enormously. So on the second last day of shooting, he was stressed out. Everyone was stressed out, and I was still cracking jokes. And then at one point, he's like, "Come on!" I'm like, "Yep, I know. I'm gone. See ya."
Oh, God.
So he actually has kicked me off set before.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Ah, what was
And
your
it,
first?
it was the most jovial kicking off of a set that's ever happened, though. There was no animosity. I wasn't fired or anything. He just said, "Dude, you gotta go. I gotta get this show shot." So he's the
Well,
only director. Yeah,
so
only
when-
director that's ever kicked me off a show.
So you
When-
wear it as a badge of honor.
That's
Mhm.
right. So when you were in Wind Calls the Heart and you saw Neil, is that the first time you saw them after that, or did you?
No, we've worked together a few times since
Oh,
then.
okay.
Again, it was very amenable. Like it was just sort of a fun kicking me off set for the day to get the shot. But no, we worked a couple more times since then. And then when I got hired on When Calls, Neil was the one that, reached out because I wasn't that interested. No offense, I just wasn't that interested out of the get-go. He's like, "Oh, come on, just come in. I direct this episode. It'll be fun." So got the job, and I knew Pascale a little bit, but then he took me aside and he said, like, "We're just gonna see," because she'd done one episode before I got there, and we're like, "We're just gonna see if you guys hit it off or get along," and we don't. And
Not at all.
I've been
Not at all.
carrying her ever since. She's like a dead weight. She's my albatross, but
You know,
yeah.
it's a
So
burden.
Neil was the guy that he kicked me off
All the
set,
king.
and he hired me on When Calls.
I love it. That's funny.
All right, I'm going to bring it back to When Calls. So looking back on season 10, one of my favorite things was that we got to see Rosemary pregnant for a lot of the episodes. And it was such a long-awaited storyline. And we've just been so excited and just waiting to see that. Were you happy with how the pregnancy and new parents storyline played out?
It's one of those things where we were pushing it for so long, and really, it's Pascale that pushed the idea. I feel like I'm kind of old to be a dad, but she wanted that, so she pushed and pushed, and because we're good friends, I just got behind it, and eventually we got our way. And actors always want more. You always want more for a storyline rather than less. And studios and networks and directors want you to have less because they have other storylines they have to incorporate.
Yeah.
So we wanted her to be pregnant for the whole season. And oddly enough, she was on board with that because you have to wear the fat suit and the whole
Right.
belly and all the stuff, and it is uncomfortable. But she was on board. She really wanted to do it. And in the end, when we started shooting it, they were like, "Yeah, it's not going to be the whole season. It's not really going to be half the season. It's going to be like a third of the season." And I was like, "Okay, well, we just have to make the most of the time that we have." And I think we did. It was a lot of fun. She did when we did I think this is right. I might be wrong, but I think our very first season together, she was actually pregnant. So real life pregnant. So we were
Yes,
hiding it all
yes.
the time. So it's nice to do it where you don't have to hide it. And
With
it becomes,
that red coat, that was just really great. Out of
yeah,
that
yeah,
was really.
yeah. So, but it was really fun. And they embraced some of the things that we like to do, like with, when she doubled over in the street and the whole town got involved in that moment. That was a lot of fun. I didn't see that coming, and that was just, it ended up being a blast. And instead of just being, because I've always sort of liked the idea of the Rosie and Lee moments kind of just ourselves.
Right.
And the director wanted the whole town, and once I saw it coming together, I was like, "Oh, okay, I see what you're doing. This is great. This makes total sense." That's the thing about Hope Valley anyway. It's the community all rallying together. That's what we do. So that, and then the birth scene was, it was interesting. I didn't know what we were doing with it. Like, I didn't know how Pascale was going to want to play it. Like,
Hmm.
because birthing scenes are it ain't easy. I was there for the two that my wife went through, and it's not an easy thing, and it can be it's not a flattering thing, but she's a baller, so she went in there and just kind of went for it, and I was like, oh, okay, we're going real. Okay, let's
Right,
go.
right.
Let's go real.
Uh,
And it ended up being a lot of fun. I like those moments when the thing about Lee and Rosemary that I like most is that, yeah, she's a little kooky and she's fun, and he's a little, he kind of, keeps her grounded, so to speak. But it only works if you get enough of those moments that are real and it's kind of like centered again, and you get a real
right.
quality moment.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I like. So the pregnancy and the birth, all that allowed a lot of that as well. It's always the juxtaposition of those two concepts, the humor mixed with the heart, that makes it
Mhm.
work. That's what I think those two
I
do.
loved that Lee was there. She called for him and he went, he had to get there. I loved that because, back in that day,
Yeah.
daddies were nowhere to be found. And it was like, okay, get him in. I love that.
Yeah, me too. I thought that was a really cool thing. The show is all about kind of empowering women, and that's a lot of what the network does. And it's nice that they, reflected on the guy there a little bit and said, you know what, even though nowadays it's commonplace, and then it
Mhm.
never happened.
Mhm.
My dad was at a bar across the street when I was born, so which was, I think, was the norm. But I was great to be in the room, and it felt right because I was, and Pascal's husband was, and it's just sort of the way it is now, So it was
Right.
kind of, we do a lot of these things with women's characters, the female characters, empower them, make them strong, when it may not have been historically correct, and it's occasionally nice to throw the guy a bone every once in a while. So it was nice.
Right.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was
I
cool.
like the idea that I think Lee was saying you're feeling helpless, and then all of a sudden you're there, and it made sense. You couldn't even do it, separate. You can't
Yeah.
really imagine Lee not there.
Yeah.
Even though it's 19, whatever, 20.
Yeah,
So
that's how I felt about it too. It kind of had to be. It's the
yeah,
way it had to be. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, now that Goldie is here,
Mhm.
we always hear about how difficult it is to film with babies on set. They're notoriously difficult and come with a boatload of restrictions and all sorts of things like that. So one of the Hearties, Natalie Nicholson of Tennessee, wants to know, what does an average day look like with a baby on set?
Oh, Natalie.
There isn't really an average day, I'm thinking.
No, there's no average. Kids are unpredictable. It's a weird thing, to do film, you have to employ children, but at the same time, kids aren't supposed to have jobs,
right, right,
not at that age. But it is that is the main reason in my mind. They wouldn't confirm this, and I'm sure they'll deny it, but the main reason it took so long for us to convince them to give Lee and Rosie a kid was because of how challenging it is, sort of schematically on the production side. It's really slow working with a kid because you just don't know what you're going to get.
sure,
And you kind of have to, writers do this weird thing with kids because you try intellectually, leave this scene sort of blank. We have them, we have the kid, let's just see what happens. But then they start getting carried away, and then they have a 6 month old doing things that you're never going to get the 6 month. It doesn't work that way.
right.
So,
Oh,
so I think we were barking up that tree for a long time because production was like, no. And our show's not an expensive show. So that time is really expensive for us. So when they finally agreed to it, I mean, obviously we've had the little Jack character for a long time, and we've gone through several evolutions of what that's like on set. And it's you get when you get something, it's gold. The
Right.
problem takes time and money, because money is time on this thing, to get the gold. So oddly, how ironic that her name is Goldie. But the, the little girl that we had this year, um, we were always very specific. We wanted it to still be Lee and Rosie, but with a baby, but not have everything be about the baby. We're a B storyline, Aaron's A storyline, so it's more about her and little Jack and where they go. We don't want it to be all about the kid, really. So we wanted it to be about us with the kids. And so on our first episode this year, it was challenging because the little girl we had was fantastic individually. She's so adorable. Ellie is her name, and she's so adorable and so confident. It's quite shocking how confident she is and just walks around. But on the first day, they made a mistake and they just brought her into the room without kind of giving her a chance to get around and get her bearings. And then suddenly there's 50 guys with lights and cameras, and she
Oh,
just kind of claimed,
wow.
yeah, she didn't want to be
Oh,
there. And we felt awful and it was torture. And the parents weren't sure if this was going to work out for them. Production was like, see, this is why we didn't want to do this.
oh,
And then by the time we got to the episode 3, it had all changed. And
oh,
she
wow.
was so confident. She just walk around and do stuff. We just had to find out what worked for Ellie. So what worked for her was really just to even though she had breaks, little kids have to, I think they work 20 minutes and then they have to have like half an hour off or something.
Mhm.
They're very strict. And she would work and then they give her a break, but it worked out better if she had her break with us on set. So she just walk around with her mom and dad and she got more and more comfortable, got to know us. And before you knew it, like after maybe in the 5th or 6th episode, we hadn't seen her for about a week or a week and a half. Her and her dad came walking by one day and she saw me and she's like, ah, and she just came running up with a big hug and just
Oh,
stood in front of me and
that's
wanted to be picked up.
awesome.
Yeah, it was really something. So it's really challenging working with kids. You have to have a kid who's really confident, who likes being there, and then you have to be smart about how you work with the kid to get anything out of the situation. And both Pascale and I had kids, so we're really conscientious about working with a baby. We feel
Right.
that we have to take a certain amount of moral responsibility while we're on set to make sure that no psychological damage happens to a kid. You know, all these people with
Yeah.
cameras,
Yeah.
there's a time crunch. And so ultimately, I think it worked out really great. And I do think there is some gold. We got
Oh,
some
good.
gold out of gold.
Looking forward to that one. Oh my
Yeah.
word. Can you
Yeah.
imagine? But yeah, and the thing is, now you are having, season 11 in in the books and we're still talking about season 10. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just really interesting what you are dealing with, especially for us. We've never seen usually we see all of the season.
Yeah.
And then when you're filming it, then, it's I don't know, it's something that's easier to kind of comprehend, but
Yeah,
um,
I'm a kind of a year ahead of you guys.
yeah,
Yes,
exactly,
yes,
exactly. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So the thing is, like, and you talked about it with season 10, we talked about the women's relationships and things like that. But season 10 was really interesting because there's more of, the bromance between, a lot of characters.
Yep.
And so it's interesting, with you know, closer to Joseph, Lee going to closer with Joseph, tending bar with Bill. Let's see, throwback couple with Lucas and Nathan and Hickam and Henry as the Godfather. There's just a lot of things that kind of like a pivotal piece between Lee and all of these men. What is like your particular favorite scene that you had with other male
Well,
cast members?
on our show, I I always think of Lee as a guy who's kind of he helps bridge these different worlds. He gets along with everybody. He's sort of
Yeah.
like a King of Kensington kind of guy, and I really like that about him. Sort of he has these strong positive friendships with these other strong men, and I like and the thing is I'm friends with all of them and
Mhm.
quite good friends with all. Viv and I get along so great. So when they were pushing that storyline, I thought it was, a really good natural fit. We get along great, and I think that when you do have a personal relationship, just like with Pascal, when you can put that on camera, like it's so easy. It's like instant chemistry,
Sure.
and so I love doing stuff with Viv, and unfortunately, we made the mistake of asking for more, and I don't think I'm giving too much away. They didn't really pursue that in season 11. So not that anything bad happened or anything. It's just we didn't get to pursue that bromance so much. But the Lucas character, Chris and I are also very close, and there's quite a, they really do push that relationship, and he and I both really enjoy that. We get along very well. But I could say the same thing about Jack or Ben or Kevin, literally any of the guys at Rothgar, everybody. They're all so each one brings something really cool and different to the show, and I think that Lee's job is to try and get them to kind of smile at themselves a little bit and show some of their, I don't know, some of their positivity. That's what Lee's always trying to do. So
Yeah.
all of them are great, and I'm happy to pursue any of them. When I first came on, they paired me up a little bit with the character Jack, with Daniel. And so Lee's always been this guy that kind of is befriending all these guys in town, even though he doesn't really partake in too many of the poker games and that kind of thing because he's married to Rosemary. But but
But
it's great. It's
I
great.
was gonna say, but Lee does do some poker because there was
Sometimes.
an episode is what was that season when you had with Lee and Rosemary and they were
Yes.
that was what
That was
season was
season
that?
three, I think, maybe 3 or 4. It was when we
Yeah,
tried
just
yeah,
early.
when we sort of tricked Gowan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
That's it. That's funny. Oh my word. Okay, so we have a hearty question.
Okay.
Tanya Agone of Seattle. Love that Lucas asked Lee to be his best man. And she was asking with Lucas, now governor, how would you characterize the relationship and interactions in season 11? Not sharing so much, but what do you think?
Yes. Well, I already kind of gave you a little bit because we do pursue that bromance quite a bit more in season
Oh,
11. And there's a
so
lot,
excited.
yeah, there's a lot going on between Lee and Nathan. Uh, no, Lee and Lucas, sorry.
Right.
Um, and there's some really good stuff. Like there's some really fun scenes. Chris and I got to do some really fun stuff together. And again, it's one of those ones where real nice natural friendship that kind of brings itself onto camera from time to time. And it's kind of we take sort of a real approach at friendship. Like it's not all great. Never gets bad or anything, but
Right.
there's some more natural looks at a friendship. When he asked, Lee's been we were talking about it this year, and we were like, Lee's been involved in a lot of weddings on this show, and I think in the Best Man or one of those, the groomsmen several times now. I have to think about that, but yes. So it was kind of fun when he asked me, and I like to. It was unexpected when his character asks Lee, but then that sort of joviality at being asked, and that I think it kind of brings the Lucas character out of his shell a little bit, not so mysterious, but kind of like playful and boyish, which was really cool.
Mhm.
That's lovely.
Very good. Very good. We're looking forward to all of that.
Mm.
So, one of the scenes in season 10 that really fascinated us was the one that Siobhan Devine directed, in which a group of the town leaders gathered in your office and Lee's office to discuss the water diversion scheme, taking you way back to season 10. I know that's taken it back for a while.
Yeah.
We would love to hear what you found interesting about doing that scene. Can you recall?
Yeah, I think I do remember shooting that scene, and unfortunately we were in a rush to get lunch, so
Oh, really?
Everybody was
it's
hungry.
it's
Your
never what you
belly
think
was
is happening. You guys think it's this great big scene that, oh, what did you think? Well, we were thinking about lunch is what we were thinking about, and how do we get this shot as quickly as possible and get to lunch before it gets cold. Um, I do remember shooting that scene, and if I remember correctly, we're kind of at the desk and kind of at the couch, and everybody's in close in a circle, and those scenes are challenging when each character pops in for a line
Mm-hmm.
because I think as an actor, those are the hardest scenes to shoot because you don't have anything to warm into and anything to, kind of create and cool yourself out of. It's just sort of blah, and then wait, blah, wait, blah. Even if you're listening to the scene, it's really hard to get the intonation right when you're just breaking in with three words. So and everybody was. So we were all somewhat frustrated and hungry.
Oh dear. That's just a combination that did not work. Well, the thing is, it's about the cadence.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Siobhan about it, and it was an interesting scene just for a viewer and you would see that Lucas was really a leader at that moment, like he knew what's going on. But everything else, I mean, it was an orchestrated scene, and it's almost like Lucas was the conductor at that point. But it was good. It was great. I loved it.
It kind of reminded me of the old TV mystery shows when I was a kid, and everybody was kind of popping in, adding their piece of the puzzle. Right. Really good. Y'all did a great job on that, even though you were hungry and ready for a break.
So what did you have for lunch? That was so
that I don't remember. That I can't remember.
That's asking too much, Dawn.
I was going to say, follow-up question.
Kelby Harmon of Thornton, West Virginia asked, what was your standout or wow moment from season 10? Be it a scene you were in or just overall one as you were watching it that you liked? Did it her other question is, did it top wow moments from other seasons for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say we did. The wow moment for Lee, and I'm assuming probably for Rosemary too, is when the kid arrived. And the birthing scene was fine. That was interesting and dramatic and great. But it was when we were laying there afterwards on the bed with the baby. And it was really quite sweet to shoot, but also just to be in the scene. I mean, my kids are grown up mostly, and Pascale's are kind of medium. So to have a newborn in our arms again, and that sensation, that smell, and the sound they make, it was just like, oh, there's something very human about it that it sort of touches some part of your soul somewhere that's like, oh, a little baby. And it was just right in our arms and tiny. It was really quite. I think it was then that I realized, oh, okay, this kid's storyline's gonna work out. This is gonna, I'm into this now. I think this, I remember this, and this is gonna be fun. We're gonna be just fine.
Wow.
And as far as it comparing to other wow moments, I would say there's been a few, and I like, there was the wedding, and there was the when I find out she's pregnant, and there was some, some big things in between there, here and there. But I would say that scene where we were lying there with the newborn, just kind of her in my arms, the kid in her arms, and just sitting there after waiting so long and trying to pitch that storyline for so long, and then suddenly the kid's here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. That kind of mirrors real life, you know? And even though it was the birth of this storyline for y'all, for other people, it's the birth of their child. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Well, we had Pascale on several months ago, and she shared earlier that there was a moment when she went into labor, as probably when she was in the street, and labor hit hard. And she said, you looked to her like, oh, we're going to go there. Okay. Tell us kind of about playing up the humor in the whole labor scene.
Well, number one, never talk to Pascale first. Always talk to me first. And secondly, that look where I say, oh, we're going there. That's every scene we do. When I see what she plans to do with a scene, I always have that look on my face saying, oh my God, is that where we're going? Like, anyway, no, it was, that was the scene I was talking about earlier where I was pitching. I wanted it to be something where it's the two of them. Like I just thought maybe, everything's chaotic with the paper and with the mill. And I pitched the idea of a picnic where they go to get away from everything for a little while, and she ends up going into labor on the picnic, and then Lee has to give birth. That was my idea. Ooh. But then that was not Hallmark's. They were not interested in that at all. So that got pitched. So when they came to the water breaking, I still wanted that. I was like, well, gosh, I really love the scenes where it's just the two of us and we really get to dig into it, whether it's humorous or heartfelt. And then when it happens right in the middle of the street and she drops down to a knee like that, and I come inside, and then everybody kind of comes in for a line, Loretta comes in, Rothgar comes in, Andrea comes in. Everybody has a thing. And and this does happen to me often. I have to admit, when I come into set, I have one thing in my head, and what we shoot is entirely different. So either I don't know what's going on the show, or I'm just wrong about everything. But this one was a nice revelation that, oh, okay, yeah, this is the way this is supposed to happen, and it was really fun. And she went like, I mean, Pascale does in every scene. She just goes for it. She's fearless, and that's sort of a fun thing. We do this one thing well, I think, together, where I can I can pitch her an idea right before we shoot. I'm like, oh, say it like this. 99% of actors would tell you to, unpleasantness. And
Right.
yeah, yeah, you just bleep that out. They would say something bleepable. And I get it. I get it, but not at all. We've been doing it for so long together. I'll say, "Oh, try this." And I would say 9 times out of 10 right away. Yeah, absolutely. I'll try it. Let's see what happens. And vice versa. I mean, she gives me ideas, and we always pitch, and not just for, a few scenes, but literally every scene. It's like, "Oh, what do you think of this? Did you think of this? How about this?" And we go at it as bravely as I think you can, and you just kind of, and she has that kind of confidence that she just kind of goes all in every time in every scene, and it makes making choices way easier when your partner isn't kind of going half-ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she never does, and I never do. So it's we were really lucky to be paired with one another, and at that time in our lives when we were confident enough to kind of act that way.
Right.
Well, it translates so beautifully on camera. You can see how well you get along.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really hard.
It's fantastic.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, and then when we get a glimpse of the behind the scenes in HFR, then you really know.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
really know.
Shay Van Vieren of Manchester, Michigan, wants to know, how does Lee's parenting style differ from Kavan's parenting style?
Well,
That's kind of hard because it's a baby. You're not.
yeah, exactly. It's a baby, so the parenting style isn't really applicable yet. Um, I would say, and I think my kids would say, that daddy's very strict, and Lee cannot be strict because there are a lot of union regulations around having a baby. But I will say this, that the parents of Ellie, who plays Goldie this season, were wonderful and open and chill, and that creates that environment. So it allows us to be fun and open and chill. Nobody was stressing out, and Ellie was so confident herself, just owning her space instead of just terrified and cowering or crying, which I would have been like as a baby. So, um, but yeah, you can't really apply what I would be like in a professional environment. I'm pretty strict, and but with babies I was very tactile and cuddly, and so I hope that we'll be, so far we're able to do the same things. Ellie is really like, I got her, she starts kissing me on the cheek now of her own volition, which is really adorable, and she always wants to be lifted up. And the first few times in the season, she was resistant to us picking her up, and you feel bad having to hold on to her, and she just desperately wants to be put down. But we got to the point where now she wants us to pick her up. She wants to be in the scene with us, and
Oh.
yeah, it's really great. But so I would say that moving forward, I'm almost certain Lee will be less of a disciplinarian than I am in real life.
I have
So
a feeling Goldie is going to have her dad wrapped around her little finger.
Yeah, in fact, we use that line several times this season.
Yeah.
So it is there. I will say, in my defense, I try and marry discipline and humor when it comes to my parenting style. Although I might be the only one that finds it funny.
I'm sure your kids love that.
Mm.
teenagers, right? Now?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Irmgard Goring of London, don't
Oh,
know London, probably UK,
yeah.
wants to know if you have found the transition to Lee's character, going from a single businessman to married with no kids to head of the sawmill, mayoral candidate, and editorialist, to now father in an all-female household.
It's quite a transition. It's a good question. Normally on a show, you wouldn't be able to explore that because most shows run a couple of seasons and that's all you get. So the more seasons we get, the more we can explore. And I've been fortunate enough to kind of be able to go through all those different things. I think, God, maybe season 8 or 9, we started exploring this idea that Lee wasn't fulfilled, not in some kind of an inner way. So he wanted to do something that was, far more meaningful to him. He was all this search for his purpose. And it ended up becoming this kind of thing that just got dropped every year. There'd be like all these scenes about him wanting his purpose, finding his purpose, and then it just didn't go anywhere. Or, I don't, the idea of losing the mayoral race was fine. I don't mind that, but then where do we go? And it just kind of felt like it kind of just got dropped too often. There was no resolution to it. In season 11, there is some resolution to it, and they
Oh,
also
right.
they start doing a lot more instead of waiting for things to happen. Lee goes and makes some things happen, and I think that the transition for me got stalled in the middle a little bit because I didn't really know what to do. I mean, we did so many scenes where I'm trying to find purpose and then it never goes anywhere. And I felt like, well, I'm still
Right.
waiting for
Where's
purpose.
my purpose?
Yeah, what's the purpose? And then suddenly I can I don't think I complained, but I might have mentioned it. Um and
Forcefully?
yeah, yeah, very nicely. But so I think I was very happy with season 11 for Lee, and I think that that sort of little stall in the middle of that transition for him has finally found some resolution. So I'm hoping that the fans will like where Lee is going. I like where Lee is going, and fingers crossed that it'll all work out.
Yeah. I just, in my mind, just because Lee is a father,
Yeah,
that maybe that's the reason why he found it. Now he's a family man, and now everything's kind of, making sense. The puzzle point pieces are just get it coming together. So maybe.
absolutely. I say that all the time to friends and family, whomever. I thought I knew what my life was about, and I thought I kind of understood where I was going and why I was doing it. And then I had kids, and then I'm like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. It is a revelatory moment. You're kind of like,
Right.
got
Yeah.
it. All those other things, they might be important, but they do fall by the wayside. And you like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm supposed to be a dad. And my confidence in other things just kind of started soaring. Like I became a better person,
Mm,
and that it really is sort of like it was a crossroads for me, and I agree with what you said 100%. I think I can use that idea for Lee that when he had the kid, when Goldie shows up, he suddenly realizes what the real purpose is.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. More Hardy questions. Darren Powell of Bendigo, Australia. Let's see. Wants you to name your all-time funniest behind-the-scenes moment of filming with Pascale.
There's been a lot. There's so many. Um, there really is. Literally, almost every scene you shoot, there's people laughing. It's one of the most contagious things that I've ever experienced. When you start laughing, like when you're rolling and you just can't pull it in. Your whole body shakes, your shoulders, and you're trying so hard. And it happens all the time. Pascal is particularly guilty of it. She breaks all the time, and it takes her a long time to come back. But it feels amazing. Like it's a charge. Like laughter is the best drug. It's just amazing. It's an incredible sensation. But there was one time many seasons ago where I made fun of an outfit Pascale was in. It was one of those that long red jackety thing, and she had her hair done up, and I think it was season like 3 maybe, and her hair was up, and she looked like Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I was like, oh, that's very Bram Stoker's Dracula, and it was, and everybody was like, oh yeah, it really is. You look like
I
Gary Oldman.
see it. I see it.
Yeah, so it was kind of like, wow. To the next day, we're shooting the scene that happens right before that. And it's when I think she comes into town on the chuck wagon and her hair is down. And it was crazy. Tons of extras, big scene. We'd shot it all morning. And it dawned on me, I'm like, she's not Dracula right now. So I was like, what do I do? What do I do? Because this is a huge continuity problem. We shot all this for nothing. So she gets out of the thing, and I'm like, shouldn't you be Dracula right now? And oh my God, you're right. I'm supposed to be Dracula. So we had to cut, we had to redo the whole morning, and that's a ton of extras and all this stuff. So it was laughing because I thought she was Dracula, but then next day we found out that there was a huge continuity problem with the hair. Before you cut me off, I want to say one thing. It's really cool that you're getting all these questions from all over the world. That's really wild. Like,
Mhm.
I think that's fantastic. It's so cool to hear that the whole Hearties phenomena is not just located in
Not
Canada.
at all.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
It's
Breathing and feeling well at this point.
yeah, I love it.
It's
oh, yeah.
awesome. Well, and this is kind of like the follow-up with that question was with Kathy Feeney of Toledo, Ohio.
Mhm.
When you break character and laugh, who usually breaks first, you or Pascale?
Always Pascale.
Of
I
course.
like always. I very seldom break. And I don't know why that is. Maybe I'm just like old and I don't get the jokes, but I don't break very often. Pascal breaks all the time, seemingly at nothing at all. No one understands what she's laughing at half the time, which she finds, and then she finds that even funnier, and then just keeps going.
If we asked the same question, Pascale, what would she say?
Well, that's why I said always come to me first. Always come to me first. She's known to tell a yarn from time to time. So come to me first for the real story, the real deal. Yeah.
We need to give her rebuttal time.
Mm-hmm.
Another Hardy,
Okay.
Gladys Marie Wooldridge Johnson of Arlington, Texas, wants to know how much of a time jump is there between season 10 and season 11?
As much as I'd like to answer that question, I am the last person that follows that train of thought. So if I say something, chances are I'm going to be wrong. But based on the kid on Goldie,
Yeah.
I think it's like a few months.
Okay.
I think that's my best guess. I every year is slightly different because of storylines we have, or kids aging, or whatever parameters we have to work by on the show. Um, each season is slightly different, and I gave up trying to follow it after about season 4. Sorry, Marjorie, I don't know.
Well, it sounds like since Goldie's just a few months old, that it's just a few months jump now. So you're right. Sounds like it. And the other part of her question was, do we get to see Goldie dressed with the same flair we have come to associate with the Coulters?
Well, she definitely dresses cute. I mean, they have her in some stuff that is just adorable. But I wouldn't say that this season they've done, the dresses, the fancy colors, or the reds and the blues and the greens. It's been more kind of traditional kid stuff, but it's really cute. She had this one little sundress on the other. The booties are a big thing. So she's always got these cute. You got to remember, if I'm not mistaken, the Ellie, the girl who's on the show, is somewhere around 11 months, 10 or 11 months, something like that, I think. I could be totally wrong. But those kids aren't always interested in putting on what you want them to put on. So it's really a matter of trying to get something on them that they're comfortable in and that they're not paying too much attention to. So she liked the kind of little flowy sundresses that left her legs, very open for movement. And she didn't love booties, but once she got them on, they were okay. But she's got a very wide pie face. And when she smiles, it is electric. And
Aw.
all season long, we were trying to get one of her like electric smiles on camera, but she was tricky. She was sneaky kid. She knew when the camera was rolling, and when it was rolling, she still had fun and she had a great time, but she was less inclined to lay one of those big smiles. But when we get one, it's gonna be amazing.
Aw.
She's just the cutest kid.
Aw. Now, any of Daddy's plaid? Clothes with Daddy's
No.
plaid.
No, not yet. No, not yet.
Not yet. It's hopeful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any off-season project or things that you are working on that Hearties should be looking forward to, or something that you're looking forward to?
Well, so far every year, last couple of years, we've done a couple of these Big Sky movies, which I've really enjoyed, Big Sky River movies. I've really enjoyed doing those with Emmanuel. And so we've tried to, proposition the network to do another one of those. We haven't heard anything yet. I spend my whole off season writing. So, and it's kind of for me. And I wish I'd have started it sooner because I had no idea the show was going to keep going. But although, and I've said this before, nobody on our show is getting rich. It's just not that kind of show. It affords me time now that we're in season 11 where I don't have to just jump back in and try and get any acting job I can. I can actually do this writing thing now, which really is very fulfilling to me. So although there's nothing published yet, so nothing really to promote, I am slowly working towards that.
Definitely keep us posted. Hearties will be all over it.
I appreciate that. I will, for sure.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin. This has been such a treat to talk with you, and knowing that season 11 is already, we're wrapped and probably in the editing process. So we'll look forward to the premiere date. So who knows what that be? So, and hopefully season 12.
Yeah. Well, we just finished shooting season 14 now. So,
Of course.
no, I'm just kidding. We'll see if we do another interview next year. We'll see what the time difference is and if we're actually in the same place or if I'm still a year ahead. But I hope we go back to, I've pitched this to the network, but nobody listens to me. This year, I think we were actually really close to making this happen. From what I've heard, it was very, very close. I've always said, why are we not doing more episodes? Because the show is certainly a hit with amongst its fans, but I think one of the things you risk in taking such a giant hiatus every year is there's so much out there nowadays. There's so much to choose from. And I've always thought, why would we not, try and embrace the fans and shoot some more? Obviously we all benefit, but then there's a smaller gap between seasons where you're going to lose your fan base. So I've always thought like we should be shooting some more episodes, and I think this year we were actually really close to making that happen, but in the end it didn't. So I'm hoping maybe next year we'll be able to do more.
Yeah.
But that time, that moving us around thing, I think everybody was worried that maybe we would lose some viewers and stuff, and summertime can be much more difficult. People are busy, but we did great. The fans were great. The Hearties showed up in force. So it was really wild. I just wish we'd embrace it all a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping that we'll have something, closer than, I think the one show was, what was that? That show was just announced with January.
The Way Home.
Way Home.
With the January premiere.
What's the show?
The Way Home.
Way Home. That's it. So hopefully after that, then we'll
That's
just
what we're hoping for. And
Well,
we're always hoping for more episodes. We even did a Twitter fest about that a couple
really?
of seasons ago, trying to convince Hallmark to do some more episodes.
I think we should do another Twitter fest.
Hey.
I
And
think we
you
should.
are still, that you're so in the whole Twitter world,
Oh yeah, it's
Oh,
really
yeah, you lead us.
yeah. I'm just kicking it on social media.
Of course.
I'm the worst. I'm terrible at it. And every time I do it, I'm stuck. Here's my dilemma. This is my dilemma. I have two teenage boys, and I gave them a phone at 13 because they go to school in the city, and it's a big commute. And I knew that it was going to backfire, and it backfired. I mean, it's not a phones are not great. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to teach my kids to stay out of the phone and to stay off social media. So then I come home and I'm getting into it, and I'm not really, doing what I'm preaching. So I've tended to shy away from getting into it. And then I just also realized that everybody on the show that does it, at least on our show, they're all infinitely better at it than me, except for Jack. Jack's hopeless. He doesn't really even know what a phone is. But apart from that, everybody else is way better at it than me. So I let them take care of it.
Oh, practice makes perfect. You just need a little
Yeah.
more practice.
I was gonna say I'm okay with that, knowing that the situation, especially with the
Yeah.
teenagers now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's more important to be present with your kids versus doing anything like that.
Mhm.
So we'll excuse you. You have a
Yeah,
hall pass.
I appreciate when there's stuff like this year, it was the first time because we weren't allowed,
Yeah.
technically because of the strike, we weren't supposed to promote while the show was on. So nobody was really doing it this year. So
We
I didn't.
missed y'all so much.
I know it was crazy. I mean, it was really hard for Aaron and for Pascale because they really love doing that stuff. And but that was the first time I don't think I did any. I try and while the shows are going or while, like the Big Sky River shows, I definitely try to do better when it's airing, but the rest of the time I'm hopeless, useless.
Well, we take what we can get.
All
We
good.
understand.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's
I'll
all
try it.
good.
I'll try.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time, and we will be looking forward to season 11, and then season 12, hopefully going forward. So
Yes, ditto. I hope so too. And thank you for your interest, and thank you to all the Hearties out there who are the only reason why we have a show.
as we're filming this particular episode with Kevin, it's the week of Thanksgiving. And so we just wanted to say we are so grateful for you, Hearties. This community of friends and fans is a blessing to us. And we pray that you will have a wonderful holiday season and look forward to bringing you more Heart to Hearties before and after Christmas and into 2024. So subscribe to your YouTube channel for our YouTube channel, and so you don't miss a single chat. We will see you soon. And this is Heart to Hearties.